Greetings, information superhighway. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Nail the Recruiting Process podcast. My name is Jared Zeidman. I am super happy to be here. I'm a smidge sleepy. It's great that I have this routine of recording these when I record them, which is, the Monday before the episodes release, because it is the only way I could tell you what day it actually is. I suppose that comes with the territory of raising a now 6-week-old child. But Miles is doing amazing. He's starting to crack smiles. I'm super excited. I'm also super excited about the episode we have. This episode's really special for me because there's a personal story involved. More than 10 years ago now, I was getting ready to transition full-time into coaching. It required me to quit a job that was very secure for me, where I was, on the track for a promotion, making good money, and it required me to take a really big pay cut to get into coaching full-time, because at that time in my career, I had only been coaching either on a volunteer basis when I started, the graduate level, or part-time. And it was a high-risk thing, and there were a lot of people that were close to me that were really nervous about it because, I had already established myself in another career, and it's a big risk that in a lot of people's eyes were unnecessary, even though I knew it would bring me a lot of fulfillment. And at that time, there was a very interesting New York Times article that came out on another D3 coach. His name was Marc Mitchell. And this article told Marc Mitchell's story of how he had no experience coaching at the collegiate level through age 40. And then he decided to take a risk and start coaching at the collegiate level. 3 years later, he gets his first D3 head coaching job. Less than 4 years after that, he wins a D3 national championship at FDU Florham, a small private college in New Jersey. Now, they have sustained success at FDU Florham, and he goes on to help with the rebuild at a D1 program, St. Peter's University in Jersey City. And within a couple years of him being there, they have a regular season championship. They finish second in the league. They make it all the way to the MAC championship game, one victory short of an NCAA tournament appearance. So he has now rebuilt at the D3 level and the D1 level. He continues building. He continues his coaching journey, and this takes him to where he is now, in charge of another rebuild, this time at Indiana State, Terre Haute, Indiana. And if you're unfamiliar with Indiana State as a high mid-major at the D1 level, they have an extremely rich history of basketball on both the men's and women's side. And Indiana is one of the basketball capitals of this country. He's really excited to be there. He's got his whole family out there. And he joins me today to talk not only about how he views the recruiting process, but how his arrival to Indiana is basically a collection of the high-risk decisions that he's made so far. I would say the thing I like the most about this conversation is how authentic in a what you see is what you get way with Coach Marc Mitchell. His authenticity screams in this interview. And I also think there's something really important that a lot of recruits and a lot of parents don't think about. Obviously, there is a leadership model that coaches aspire to do. We gain experiences as we go, and we're not perfect, and we're different in the beginning of our careers than we are at the end. But also, in addition to that professional growth, we are who we are. And you're going to hear Coach Mitchell tell his story. And he is someone that spent a huge chunk of his adult life outside of college basketball coaching. And there are lenses from his professional experience that he brings in to the collegiate ranks that keep him, in a lot of respects, from entering some of the political stuff that he doesn't want to be a part of, or some of the stuff that he deems unnecessary that he doesn't want to be a part of. For example, recruiting in a lot of ways takes place on Instagram right now. We post graphics, we share stories. You won't find him on Instagram. He's just not there. At this juncture, he's almost 56 years old, and he doesn't have Instagram. He's barely on Twitter. Now he has a social media presence on Twitter, but it's not like the way the younger coaches use it. And you'll hear him in the interview talk ad nauseum about how he's really concerned about the way social media is impacting the game. Similarly, He is who he is. He is a person that has gotten where he is through nose to the pavement hard work, outworking others and betting on himself. So you better believe that when he talks about the kind of recruits he's looking for, that he wants similar character traits. He's looking for recruits that he could see a little bit of himself in and relate to, because his coaching style is obviously going to reflect the work ethic that it took him to accomplish what he got. And there's no coach in the universe that's going to rub everybody the right way. But I really respect his lens on things. And you're going to hear that lens during a lot of different parts of this interview, going all the way from his own backstory to how he wants to rebuild Indiana State, to what he looks for in recruits, to some myth busting down the stretch. One final thing before we dive in. I think anyone that hosts a podcast wants you to listen to the entire podcast, right? And a lot of times a host will say, make sure you stay till the very end to hear, this person share X, Y, and Z. I haven't said anything like that yet because, I think it's silly. If I'm hosting a podcast, it is my intent to have you listen to the whole thing. That's the goal. But for this one, I want you to stay till the very end. Unbeknownst to me, I shared something with Coach Marc Mitchell as I was wrapping the podcast. I thanked him for something, and I don't want to spoil to you what I thanked him for. And this prompted him to, off the cuff, share something. He asked for a little bit more time, and he shared something. I don't even want to tell you what he shared, aside from saying he talks about exactly where he was and what happened that led him to quit his job and start college coaching. It is really important to me that you listen to that. With that said, I think you're about to enjoy a tremendous interview with Coach Marc Mitchell. Let's dive in. So excited to be here with Coach Marc Mitchell. I know he's up for any rebuild task. He's getting ready for another build at Indiana State. So my first question is, as the first summer session winds down, how are things going in Terre Haute, Indiana right now?
Hey, first of all, Jared, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Getting this exposure for our university and our program here. So I just want to say I really appreciate that. The summer has been great. We got started a little late, with my hiring process, and then me getting the staff on board was my number one priority. So we started a little late in the summer workouts, but they've been going really well. The kids have been great. Our newcomers have been great. So we're just really excited about the possibilities.
Love it. And that's, I know you as someone who is capable of establishing a vision and then implementing the vision, which is actually where I'd like to start, because I think this is going to give our listeners an opportunity to get to know you. You are not a college basketball lifer, which I actually think helps inform a lot of the way that you lead and the way that you like to build. I heard this is like an urban legend now, so I want to give you an opportunity to confirm it. I heard that you basically walked into your first head coaching interview at FDU Florham and said to them, I can win a national championship here. I've heard the reaction was mixed, but I want to give you an opportunity to confirm or deny that transpired, because you did it, which is crazy. And we're going to talk about that more, but I want just give our listeners an insight in that moment. You say that in an interview. How is it received? What goes down?
That actually happened.
Perfect.
Let me give you, if you don't mind, let me give you a little backstory to that. So
please do.
Before I had an interview, I just go up to the athletic department and say, can I speak to the athletic director, Bill Clicker? So he comes out. I introduce myself to him. I'm interested in your women's basketball, head job. I'm going to apply, and, I just wanted you to meet me. I don't know any better. Like, you're not supposed to do that. You know what I mean? But I didn't know any better. Like, no one told me you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. But you're not supposed to do that. So anybody listening, you're not supposed to do that. So I just introduced myself. Then they gave me an interview. I was like, great, I got the interview. So before the interview, you know how admissions does campus tours, right?
Sure.
So I got my goddaughter, Tasia Carter. I said, yo, Tay, let's go on this college tour up at FDU Florham. So we went and did a college tour. So I learned the campus and all the buildings and where the dorms were and everything. I learned as much as I could about the campus on this campus tour. So when I went into the interview, I was prepared. So I get into the interview. We have this interview. FDU Florham is the only New Jersey school in the conference, in the MAC Freedom Conference. There were 8 schools at the time. 6 were from Pennsylvania, 1 New York school, and 1 Jersey school. So in the interview process, they're asking me questions. I said, listen, I'm going to win a national championship here. Whoa. We're in a Pennsylvania league, coach. It's too hard. I mean, I was interviewed by athletic director Bill Klicka, and then the associate athletic director at the time, Roger Kendall, who passed away a few years ago. God rest his soul. And Roger's my guy, and he was my guy. And he goes, "Hey, coach, listen, this is a tough league. We're the only New Jersey school. This is a Pennsylvania league. We get screwed a lot on the road." I said, "Don't worry. You hire me, we'll win a national championship." So we went out and did the work, man. Like, we went and worked, and I got the job. I was fortunate to get the job. We just changed the culture. I remember my first year playing up at Amherst, and GP Gramacki was the head coach there, and they were ranked number 2 in the country.
And that's a wild gym to play in too, because it looks like you're playing inside of a summer camp.
Yeah, exactly. It like I think we lost by 40 to Amherst. I think it was about 40 we lost. And I'm like, yo. I said to him and his staff, I said, yo, what does it really look like to coach a number 2 team in the country? Like, what does it even look like? They kind of laughed. Like, they're like, yeah. But I saw what it was. I said, we're gonna get players better than that. We gotta go get them. And we had to go get players. And as a coach, you can coach, you can be the best coach on planet Earth, but you gotta get some players. So we just went out, and my motto was I wasn't going to get outworked by anybody. Mm-hmm. Right? Nobody's going to outwork me. We lose, but you're not going to outwork me. So we went out and got players, and we won a national championship. And when we won it, Roger Kendall says, "You said you were going to win it. You did it. You actually did. You did it." Like, he was kind of shocked, and I was like, "No, I expected this. Like, for me, I expected it."
And this is something, and I didn't get a chance to mention this to you off air, but something that draws me to coaches like you is I have this in common with you in that I was a professional in a different line of work, and I kind of knew how to approach basketball coaching without a lot of the basketball coaching politics. It's like, this is the task. I think we can complete the task. This is how I have to complete the task. So I guess my question, building off that, Coach, is you knew what you had to do. What was the process of doing it? Because I don't want to be too inside baseball, but the Twins were a big part of it. And like, in your mind, you're like, okay, I've identified some local talent. What do I have to do to get them? Can you walk us through what that looked like, what that recruiting process looked like, and what that work looked like for you?
Yeah, you got out. Well, back then, I was just not going to be denied. I'm going to outwork anyone. So I went to a camp up at FDU in Teaneck, New Jersey. So there was a elite camp or something like that going on. And there was this kid out of Woodbridge High School. She was Woodbridge high school's all-time leading scorer at the time, Alexis. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. So I went to go see her. I was like, I got to get her. Like, that's the kid I want. Woodbridge High School all-time leading scorer. I want her. So I go, me and my assistant, Jessica Cavaco, we go, and there's 4 courts playing at the same time. So the kid she was on court 4. I was like, game 1, court 4. I'm there.
Got you.
She went down to court 1. I'm watching the game. I'm like, yeah, I'm front and center. She's going to see me. I want this kid. So one of her teammates, Kyra Dayon, was playing with her. I'm like, oh. Oh. I was like, oh no. That's it. Who is this kid? I'm and I'm Mr. Paranoid. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm listening. I'm just watching like this kid. So as soon as the game was over, I called Jess because she's down at court 1. Yo, I got a player. She was like, no, I got a player. I said, no, trust me. This kid changes everything. This is what I say to her. She changes everything. She's like, I got a good kid, coach. So, who was it? I had Kyra Dayon on court 4, and she had Kyra Dayon on court 1.
So basically, you guys probably go up to one another like you're watching a Parent Trap.
I was like, yo, we got to get them both. Yeah. Okay. So the day was over. Spoke to our older brother who was there. Mom was there. High school coach, Coach Murray was there. Spoke to Coach Murray. Spoke to him. We talked. And then pulled Mom and them aside. And my first question was, I didn't know. I was like, do you want to play with each other in college? Because you never know, right? And in harmony, they both go, yes. And that's all it took for me. So wherever they were, I was. Like, they played in a local summer league down in Trenton, New Jersey. It's an outside league, right? And one day it was like 102 degrees outside. And they're outside on the blacktop playing in this league. I go to my wife and I'm like, babe, you gotta come to this game with me. She's like, hey, it's hot out. No, you gotta come to this game with me. I said, I need them to understand that I am also a family man. So I need you to come. So my
and you
wife,
have twins yourself, correct? You have
twins. I have twin boys now. It's crazy. I have twin boys now. They're 15. It's insane. So my wife comes to the game with me, and I make sure she sits right next to Miss Dayon, the twins' mother. So they start chopping it up, and I'm like, yes. and I'm outside. There no other college coaches is here. No other Division III coaches are here. Me, 102 degrees. I'm here. So I was like, I'm going to do what others aren't willing to do.
This to me is really important. And I wish more young coaches understood this too. What you just described is also what you just ask your young players to do every day in practice. Yeah. I'm going to outline what it takes to win, and I'm going to model the way, and I'm going to go hard, and my expectation is that you go hard. And I guess that actually kind of helps me segue to the next thing, because obviously there is a difference between rebuilding a high mid-major Division I program and rebuilding a D3 program. But I don't actually think the vision or the work looks that much different, Coach. So I guess my question to you is, are there really any differences in the way you approach now trying to build up Indiana State? Or is it that same kind of mindset of we're going to outwork the people around us?
Well, I'll be honest, it's different today. My work ethic doesn't change. Is going to be the same. My character is the same. I am who I am. But things are a little different today. This whole social media thing where everybody got to post offers, which and let me be on a record and say I think it's stupid. I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, when I'm talking to, well, how many guys do you need to ask you out to the prom? You know, they kind of laugh it off. I said, do you let everybody know 8 guys asked you out to the prom? You know what I mean? Like, I don't keep
Right.
your business your business. Like, when I see kids commit, those are the ones I'm like, all right, you're fully invested in a program and into a coach, into a university. So those things are like, so I don't like it. So my approach, I am who I am. Now there's NIL. So now kids are getting paid to play. And let's not sugarcoat it. That's exactly what it is. It's pay to play. And a lot of kids,
Mhm.
it's a status symbol because of social media, because I have an NIL deal. Uh, Someone gave me $50,000. Someone gave me $30,000. I got $25,000 from here. Oh, such and such gave me a car. So, that's a big deal to be on social media to say, I got, I have, you know. So it's a lot more difficult for me now. But I am
Mhm.
who I am. I'm going to be who I am, and I'll find them. I'll find kids that are like mine, myself, and say, hey, I just want to do the work and be successful and prove people wrong and win.
It's
I'll
funny that you
figure it out.
mentioned this. It's funny you mentioned this though, because I know in our time at Canisius, Sahar and I had a lot of conversations about the exact thing you're saying. And it's tough to balance what we see on social media with some of the things that are more actually important that these kids don't realize until they're there, which is a coaching staff that's actually in their corner, which is people that are invested in them. And a lot of times you win people over in those moments. And that actually kind of gets me to the next thing. You have seen, and you made mention of this in previous interviews, you've seen the men's team at Indiana State make some waves. And I think that's helped you kind of set up a vision of what you guys can be when you talk to recruits and you're looking for, quote unquote, the real ones, as us
Yeah,
as
yeah.
us coaches with major experience would say. What do the real ones kind of look like to you right now in implementing that vision?
These are kids like first off, you can win at Indiana State. Let's just be
Mm-hmm.
clear. Let's be clear on that. Uh, that is a wonderful, beautiful campus. Uh, a lot of good people are not only on campus but in the city of Terre Haute, uh, who are major supporters of the athletic department. And I say that to say what? We can get it done. So I'm just trying to find some young ladies who are about the business, right? Who uh, who aren't followers of the whole I got to do what everybody else does on social media and I got 20 offers and taking pictures in everybody's jersey. Like, nah, give me the kids that's like, let's put the work in, and I'm gonna leave my own legacy, if that makes
Right.
any sense. Like, I don't need to follow such and such or whoever the case may be. I'm not gonna call out any schools' names, but when's the last time Indiana State women's basketball won the conference and went to the NCAA tournament? Right? When have they been on the national scene? We've seen the men's program do it just a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on the scene. So why can't the women's program? So I need women. And I'm talking about women who are being recruited by other, universities and some of the Power Fives or whatever like. Make your own name. Make your own name. So I'll find those kids who want to make their own name and be like, wow, where did she come from?
And I think you just said something really important that I actually wanted to touch on that I mentioned off air, which is there's a difference between building success and sustaining that success. And I think there is a certain type of kid out there that values that legacy and values being able to look back at the end of their career and being like, I helped build that. So I want to kind of shift to now, let's educate our younger listeners and their parents. You are now, let's say, at a recruiting event. You're watching summer ball or you're sitting at a high school game. What sort of traits are you looking for in someone? Like, what does their game look like to you? What do their soft skills look like to you? Where you could point at that person and be like, that's someone that is ready for a build. That's someone that I can build with. What are they doing?
All coaches, we look at different things. We all prefer different things, right?
Right.
I like butter pecan ice cream. You might like strawberry. You know what I mean? So we see different things. The number one thing that Coach Mitchell is looking for is toughness. Like who's physically tough, who's diving on the floor for balls, for loose balls, who's taking charges, who's mentally tough when it's a bad call. Officials make mistakes too, right? Sometimes. It's a bad call. How do they? Yeah, no, yeah, right.
Right.
How do they respond to that terrible call? You know what I mean? Right. So that's the number one thing I look for when you sub out and you go to the bench. What do you do when you walk into the bench? Do you make eye contact with your coach? Do you go sit at the end of the bench, or do you come right back up to the front and engage in the game? So those are the things that I look for. What kind of teammate you are. Does winning matter more than your personal stats? Because you can tell when kids are trying to get theirs, or do they make the right basketball play?
Right.
So right. I look for those little things.
It's so funny to hear you say that because you've coached at both of these levels. But I think a lot of young recruits are really surprised that D3 coaches are out there trying to see if they can make the right basketball play too. Like they think, oh, maybe the D1 coaches are looking for a different thing, but the D3 coaches are looking for something different. And I try to explain to them like, no, it's all the same thing.
It really is. It's the same. We're looking for kids that's gonna, in our view, help our program be successful, move the needle on our program, and have the program go forward. That's what we're looking for at all levels. So you need to, basketball is basketball. Some players are more athletic than others. Some players are more cerebral than others. So, what are you doing to help win? And we're all looking for those things.
So earlier you brought up some misinformation opportunities that are brought up by social media, and it's crazy because I graduated undergrad right as you started your coaching career, and I was entering my coaching career as you were kind of hitting your peak and making that national championship run at FDU Florham. In the time since, so much of what we do is shifted to social media. And to your point earlier, Coach, there has been so much unnecessary comparison on social media. I want to quickly complain about something else I see on social media, which is horrendous advice from trainers. And I see a lot of people with no real meaningful experience teaching or coaching that are teaching kids to do, I hate saying it this bluntly, but like the wrong things. They show up to college doing those things, and instead of just being able to develop them, we have to spend the first year unteaching them some of the dumb things that they do. So it's not every day that I have someone that has won a national championship on my podcast with a history of successful rebuilds, both at the D3 and the D1 level. So this is your podium. What would you like to see high school players work on more that they're not working on right now?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Work on your game and not your brand. Like, how about you actually work on your game? How about you actually get in the gym and play some basketball? Like, everybody has a trainer, right? I'm gonna go work out with my trainer. Well, you don't play basketball anymore.
Right.
You're always training. You're going through cones. You're going around chairs and garbage cans and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know how to jump in the gap when somebody's driving? Do you understand that if you're on strong side, you can't leave the corner. If that's a shooter in the corner, you can't leave that. Like, do you understand those things? Do you even understand, if you're a guard, how to pass the ball into the post? She's showing you her numbers. Can you give her the ball? Do you even know how to do that? Like, so let's work on those things. Let's work on being basketball players and not what they call it, drones or something. I forget what they call it. Like, let's ball. Like, when do y'all go to the park anymore, or you just play AAU games?
I had this conversation. This was 2017, 2018, when I was still at Union, and I remember asking my players, please raise your hand if you ever played, and I called it disorganized pickup, where you walk into a gym where you knew no one, and you said, I got next. And you looked at strangers and you kind of sized up the ones that you thought, might be able to get up and down the court. And you were like, jump in with me. Not one person raised their hands. And it is funny when you talk about that compete coach, because to your point, there's almost been this inverse relationship. The kids have gotten more athletic and can do flashier things that I wouldn't even dream to do when I was in high school, but they can't make decisions. They can't make decisions on the court. So now all of a sudden, a high school kid that has, to your point, has a brand, has a following, has definitely commissioned someone to make them a dope mixtape in high school, shows up on college campus, and they can't even identify which help defender came to them and which teammate is open.
Yeah.
I think you're on to something here.
I mean, listen, I'm not trying to win any popularity contest here. I'm just not. Like, that's not who I am. I'm not here to be Mr. Popular. I'm gonna tell it like it is. You don't know how to play ball. You don't, like, a lot of these kids don't understand how to play basketball. And to your point, like, to walk in somewhere and be like, I got next. What is that? No, everything is organized. We got one game Friday. We got 3 games on Saturday. And we got 1 game Sunday morning. And if we win that, we'll play again in the afternoon. Like, do you ever watch your team? You ever let your team just play? Y'all just go play. And you stand there and watch them it's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you pass her the ball? She's not going to make that shot. How long have you been playing? I had to tell my team once, how long have you guys been playing together? Do you understand that she set you a ball screen and she popped, and she's one of the best 3-point shooters in the MVC last year, and you don't give her the ball? And I had to tell my team, I was like, it's Bella. It's like, you want to get her the ball more. Oh,
it's so funny. Well, because the cliche, right, coach, is, play the right way. play the right way. And I think young people are tired of hearing that until all of a sudden they don't play the right way and they don't play because they don't realize the actual like data value of making the right decision. So your pick and pop screener gives your team a better chance of putting points on the floor. And these kids don't realize that you might not get a better scoring opportunity that possession.
Yeah.
Whichever five people make the best decisions are going to be the five people that you roll with.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me.
Right. I had a meeting with my team the other day, and one of my players is a really, really good shooter. And another one of my players, she does a really good job of offensive rebounding. Mm-hmm. So, and they're sitting next to each other, right, in this meeting. I go, who's a better shooter, you or her? Me? Right. So, which one of y'all better rebounder, you or her? And she goes, oh, Sages. Right? I was like, yeah. So, shouldn't you shoot more? And she should go to the offensive glass because that's what she does well. And everybody was just kind of quiet. Like, you got to understand this. She should get more shots than you. Because it's basketball, right?
We have roles.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Dennis Rodman ever complained.
This is good because we're touching on some stuff that I think a lot of younger players don't think about. And that actually segues into the last question I wanted to ask you. Everyone that's come on my podcast, I've given them an opportunity to sort of myth bust at the end. You have been recruiting for a long time at a lot of different levels, and you have gotten some hoopers at a bunch of different levels in your career. Are there any myths you like to bust where like parents and athletes think recruiting works a certain way and it just absolutely doesn't? And you just want to, blow up some myths and tell these people how this actually works?
I guess in Jersey, they call them like handlers. I don't know if that's...
I know exactly. Especially from Jersey, I know a few of them. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know if it's called that across the country, but handlers, right? So these handlers, you're putting a lot of faith, trust into these handlers, but these handlers are really just trying to manipulate, and not all of them, but many of them. So the myth is that these handlers are going to get you that D1, scholarship. Right. And then a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of times, these players are misinformed and they give all of the trust into these people, these handlers. Mm-hmm. And I had a situation once where when I was at St. Peter's University, I had a young lady commit, and her handler told her, well, wait, I can get you something bigger. So, so my response was, well, if you don't get anything and I give the scholarship to somebody else, is she going to pay for your education for you? No. So what we need to get back to, in my opinion, is let's get away from all of those things. And I hope I'm not going on a tangent here.
No, you are saying something extremely valuable that's actually another coach has said something very similar. So I appreciate you saying this. So please continue.
I would like to get away from all of this. Well, you need to talk to so-and-so, or so-and-so tells you, well, she's SEC or she's ACC. And she's a Big East kid. No. How about you build a relationship with coaches? We go back to actually building real relationships with mom and dad, aunt and uncle and the player, and let her tell you, yes, I want to come play for you, or thank you very much for the opportunity. I decided to go somewhere else because we have a real relationship, right?
Right.
How about we get to that? I just want to get back to those things because when I talk to people, I just talk to them real.
Yep.
And a lot of times they appreciate that, but we're in this day and age where, you know, everybody's got to get on IG and, what is it, TikTok and Twitter.
You know what's funny? I actually do think the ascension of the transfer portal and the change of some of the transfer eligibility rules, I do think it's swinging some of that pendulum back because a lot of these younger kids, and I talk, I don't even know if you know this, but like I've been doing a lot of presentations with AAU programs and kind of sharing this with them. Like, hey, if you have a handler that's telling you you're great, but you're not actually doing everything you need to be doing right now, it's easier now than ever for us to just go into the portal, meet someone that we already had a relationship with, kept
Yep.
things on good terms with, and they already know what this looks like. And rather than taking a year and getting you ready and wasting 25% of your college experience, we can have somebody that's ready to go and wants to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that the transfer portal is going to accelerate that. So, Coach, there's one thing I want to share with you before I let you go. And I know I mentioned it to you a little bit off air, but I'm happy to have you here so I can actually say this to you with the audience listening.
Mm-hmm.
A younger Jared that still had his hair, as leverage to try to convince his family that he wasn't nuts to take a huge pay cut and get into coaching full time, shared a New York Times article profiling the risks you took to become the head coach at FDU Florham. And I just want to say, coach to coach, I wish I've had more of an opportunity to compete against you. I only really had it for that year at Canisius. But in learning how you operate and seeing how you coach and also just knowing your lens on this, I want to thank you and coaches like you, because I truly think if it were not for some of the professional risks you took, I do not know if I have the courage to enter coaching. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here, Coach.
You got, do I have another minute?
Absolutely. Say whatever it is you want. You got all the time in the world.
I want to say, well, I appreciate that, but I want everybody to understand me in this context. First off, I had a incredibly supportive wife, where I was selling furniture full time, and I got a phone call from my high school team, my former high school team that I was coaching, Elizabeth High School, and they were so excited that they beat Irvington High School. And they said, "Thank you, Coach. It's you. It's basically, you're the foundation why we got here. Blah blah blah." So I quit a job making $98,000 a year selling furniture to take a part-time job at NJCU in Jersey City for $1,300. Okay, so, and I substitute teached in the morning, making $130 a day. Shout out to East Orange Campus High School. Making $130 a day as a sub, and I worked for $1,300 for that year at NJCU because I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. And my wife was super supportive, and I always said, and I heard this somewhere, I don't remember where, don't chase the money, chase the dream. And that's something I live by.
Well, I'll tell you this. I thank you so much for not letting this podcast end and sharing that story, because talk about bringing it full circle. Doesn't surprise me at all after hearing that story why someone like you walks in a room and goes, I can win a national championship here.
No doubt. No doubt.
I really appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate the time. I know we'll be in touch again soon. Thank you so much for coming on, and be well, and good luck to Indiana State this year.
So much appreciative of you, man. Thank you so much for giving me this platform. And anything I can do for you in the future, just please don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
That's going to do it for another episode of the Nail the Recruiting Process podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you got something out of today's podcast. If you'd like to learn more about anything related to Nail the Recruiting Process, the book, my work, maybe wanting to work with me one-on-one, anything under the sun, you're going to visit www.nailtherecruitingprocess.com. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can follow me at Nail the Recruiting Process on Instagram or at Jared the Coach on Twitter and TikTok. Both of those handles are just one word, no characters, no spaces. If you'd like to ask something of me directly, if you'd like a question that maybe you want answered on a future podcast, or if you have an idea for something we should talk about in a future episode, please reach out to me via email. I would love to hear from you. My email address is recruitinggear@gmail.com. That's the word recruiting, then the word gear combined. recruitinggear@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and we hope to catch you next time.